The void between stars cracked, not with sound, but with the silent, terrible emergence of the Cathar Armada. Their ships, geometric behemoths of obsidian plating and cold, violet light, filled the observation screens on the bridge of the United Earth Federation starship, Steadfast. Captain Eva Rostova, a woman whose every line and scar spoke of long service, gripped the command chair's armrests until her knuckles bleached white. 37 vessels, sleek and impossibly large, dwarfed the Steadfast as a predator does its prey. Commander Rylo's status report. Eva's voice was a low growl, cutting through the rising tide of alarm klaxons. Confirmed Cathar, Captain, Rylos, the tactical officer, responded, his voice tight with controlled dread. Primary analysis indicates a full conquest fleet, shields holding barely. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. We're outmatched, ma'am, severely. Eva didn't need Rylos to tell her. Earth's meager defense fleet, a collection of scout vessels and patrol craft, were toys against these titans. For decades, humanity had yearned for first contact, dreaming of shared knowledge and galactic unity. This was not that dream, this was an invasion. On the Cathar flagship, Annihilator's call, High Commander Xyler observed the pitiful human vessels. He was a being of polished, segmented chitin and glowing emerald eyes, a paragon of Cathar efficiency and ruthless logic. His kind had swept through this sector of the galaxy for cycles, assimilating or neutralizing any species deemed inefficient or obstructive. They are primitives, Xyler, hissed Advisor Velor, a gaunt, multi-limbed subordinate. Their energy output is negligible, their fleet, barely a dozen combat-capable vessels. Our estimates were correct. A simple harvest. Xyler gave a guttural chitter of agreement. Indeed, their world is abundant in bioresources, their technology rudimentary. They exist on a single planet, still squabbling amongst themselves. They have not yet mastered consistent FTL travel. They are nothing but extreme environment adaptive, clinging to a single, vibrant rock. His emerald eyes glowed with dismissive contempt. Send the ultimatum. Immediate cessation of all resistance. Total surrender of planetary and orbital assets within 72 standard hours. Failure to comply will result in a comprehensive atmospheric cleansing. The message, translated by the Cathar's Universal Lexicon, reached Earth's Planetary Defense Command within moments. Admiral Jian Lai, a man who had dedicated his life to protecting humanity, watched the words scroll across the main screen in the subterranean bunker beneath Beijing. His face was a mask of grim determination. "They demand we yield," he stated, his voice flat, "or they will incinerate our cities." Across the globe, the news spread like wildfire. Panic rippled through populations, but also a fierce, defiant resolve. Humans, for all their internal disputes, possessed a stubborn refusal to be broken. Far from the military command centers, Doctor, Eris Thorne was buried in the digital archives of the Global Institute of Xenohistory. A man whose unruly hair matched the chaotic brilliance of his mind, Eris was a leading expert on proto-galactic languages and forgotten terrestrial legends. He'd always believed humanity's history ran deeper than conventional understanding, a belief often met with polite skepticism. "No, no, no," he muttered, his fingers flying across his console. He was cross-referencing the Cathar's translated ultimatum with fragments of ancient Earth texts, Sumerian tablets, Mayan codices, Aboriginal Dreamtime stories. He'd always found an unsettling similarity in their descriptions of sky dwellers or cosmic visitors. But now, with the Cathar's specific terminology, a chill crept down his spine. The Cathar used the term harvesters for themselves, but they referred to humans as the inheritors of dust. Inheritors of what? Eris whispered, a knot forming in his stomach. It implied a lineage, a past, something more than simple primitives. Meanwhile, in a quiet, forgotten corner of rural England, Ilara Vance sat beside the weathered megaliths of Stonehenge. She wasn't a scientist, nor a soldier, but an artist and amateur historian, drawn to the silent power of ancient places. For days, since the first faint, disturbing reports of the alien vessels, she'd felt a subtle vibration emanating from the stones. It wasn't a physical tremor, but a deep, resonant hum that seemed to echo within her very bones. Now, as the Cathar ultimatum pulsed through every global network, the hum intensified. A faint, almost imperceptible blue light pulsed within the ancient Sarsen stones, visible only to her, perhaps a trick of her anxious eyes. On the Steadfast, Captain Rostova prepared her crew. They were few, their weapons crude compared to the Cathar, but their spirit was unyielding. Every human knew the odds. They would fall, but they would do so fighting. "Major Zhao," Eva called out to her chief pilot, "any anomalous readings from the planet?" Zhao, a woman with unnervingly calm eyes, checked her console. "Still faint, Captain, but yes, scattered energy signatures, low-level, non-standard, from ancient sites primarily. Giza, Teotihuacan, the Nazca lines, even some deep ocean anomalies in the Pacific. Too weak to be weaponry, looks like residual geological activity." Eva frowned. Likely a surge in planetary grid usage due to the global distress, or perhaps they're firing up archaic defensive systems out of desperation. The idea brought a bitter smile to her lips. What could humanity's most ancient sites possibly do against a galactic armada? But Major Zhao wasn't convinced. The patterns were too precise, too structured for natural interference. It was like listening to a chaotic static, but hearing a faint, intricate melody hidden within. In his institute, Dr. Aris Thorne found another disturbing parallel. Several ancient mythologies from disparate cultures spoke of the deep sleep, a period when primal guardians of Earth were said to have receded, becoming one with the planet, waiting for a great reckoning. He had dismissed it as metaphorical. Now the Cathar's language, the inheritors of dust, echoed with a chilling new meaning. Did they believe humanity was the dust left behind by these guardians? Or were humans the guardians, merely in a state of advanced, self-induced dormancy? The 72 hours dwindled. 24 remained. Cathar patrols swept the system, confident in humanity's impending collapse. High Commander Zyler reviewed his bombardment strategy. Prioritize orbital defense stations first, then major population centers. No need for protracted ground engagements, a clean sweep. He barely registered the faint energy readings from Earth. Too scattered, too low, utterly irrelevant. Zyler allowed himself a rare moment of introspection. These humans, they were primitive, yes, but their broadcast of peace, their desperate pleas for dialogue, held a curious earnestness he rarely encountered. Other species, upon facing the Cathar, usually defaulted to immediate, brutal resistance or abject terror. The humans displayed a strange blend of both, infused with a deep, almost childlike hope. It was a weakness he would exploit. As the final hours ticked by, Captain Rostova stood on the Steadfast's bridge. She looked at the faces of her crew, young and old, reflecting a defiant courage. Many thought of loved ones on Earth, children who would never know a peaceful tomorrow. Eva thought of the vast, silent history of humanity. All the struggles, triumphs, and quiet moments that had led to this precipice. She didn't know that, deep beneath the oceans, in the searing heart of volcanoes, and within the silent stone of ancient mountains, something was stirring. Something that had slumbered for eons, cloaked by myth and buried by the slow march of time. The energy readings that Major Zhao saw, that Ilara Vance felt, that Aris Thorne theorized about, were not just natural phenomena. They were a network, a grand, forgotten mechanism, slowly, inexorably coming online. The first palpable sign appeared with the setting of Earth's sun on the final day, not just in England, but simultaneously across the globe. From the Great Pyramid of Giza, a shimmering, golden light pulsed from its apex, casting long, ethereal shadows across the desert sands. In the Amazon, ancient geoglyphs, long thought to be mere artistic etchings, began to glow with a vibrant emerald light, forming intricate, moving patterns visible from orbit. Easter Island's enigmatic moai, weathered by millennia, hummed with a deep bass resonance, their eyes, once vacant, now burning with a soft, internal luminescence. Dr. Aris Thorne received the first authenticated reports from across the planetary network. His assistant, Dr. Lena Petrova, a woman usually unflappable, was trembling. "Doctor, the energy spikes. They're off the charts. Every verified ancient site on Earth. It's like they're all connected." Aris scrambled to his main console, his unruly hair now standing on end. The readings were indeed impossible. Quantum signatures, not just from the surface, but radiating from deep subterranean structures previously thought to be mere bedrock. They pulsed with incredible power, yet seemed to draw no external source. This is not supposed to happen," Aris whispered, his voice a mix of awe and terror. "These structures are tens of thousands of years old. They're just stone and earth. They can't generate this kind of energy." But the data was irrefutable. The quantum output was escalating exponentially. And it wasn't random. There was an intentionality, a design to the unfolding patterns. On the Steadfast, Lieutenant Commander Jax, the ship's primary sensor operator, barked into his comms. "Control! We're getting massive energy surges from Earth. Multiple points correlating with known archaeological sites. Shields are flaring. It's like the planet is actively rejecting the Cathar energy. Our systems are improving." Captain Rostova moved to Jax's station. "Explain improving, Lieutenant Commander." "Efficiency spikes across the board, Captain. Engine output at 180%. Shield harmonics are strengthening. Weapon capacitors are charging faster than theoretical maximums. It's like the ship's systems are resonating with something on the planet." Jax's eyes widened, looking at the rapidly climbing numbers. "Ma'am, my weapon targeting display just showed a lock on a Cathar battleship that shouldn't even be possible." Rostova's gaze was drawn to the main view screen, which showed the Earth, now shrouded in a faint, iridescent glow, almost as if it were breathing light. The Cathar fleet, previously an unyielding mass, seemed to ripple at the edges, their own systems struggling to reconcile the sudden influx of chaotic energy. "That's preposterous," Eva murmured, but a strange, ancient intuition stirred within her. She felt a connection, a faint echo of a colossal power awakening beneath her homeworld, feeding into her vessel. Her thoughts seemed clearer, faster. The ship's systems felt like extensions of her own will. Elara Vance, at Stonehenge, was bathed in the now brilliant blue-white light emanating from the ancient stones. The hum was no longer internal, but resonated through the very air. Visions flooded her mind, images of star charts, of colossal structures built from pure light, of beings who looked human but moved with an effortless grace that spoke of mastery over reality itself. These weren't just visions, they were memories, alien yet intimately familiar, seeping into her consciousness. "They're waking up," she whispered, not entirely sure who or what they were, or even if she was still fully herself. "It's happening! It's happening!" On the Annihilator's call, High Commander Zyler watched his own sensor readouts with growing alarm. The faint, dismissible energy signatures from Earth had exploded into a chaotic, powerful storm. His ships were struggling to maintain stable energy fields. Their targeting systems were flickering. "Sub-Advisor Genix," Zyler's voice was sharp, a rare display of agitation. "What in the void is happening on that world?" Genix, the chief sensor analyst, quivered. "High Commander, the energy readings, they are beyond anything in our archives. They pulse with a frequency unknown. They are organized and they are active. They are disrupting our weapon arrays." Zyler felt a cold, alien dread worm its way through his hardened carapace. In all his cycles of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. The Cathar had believed themselves to be the first to truly encounter Earth, to assess its value and claim it. They had prepared for an easy harvest. But as the 72-hour deadline evaporated, replaced by a sudden, blinding surge of ancient energy from the planet below, High Commander Xyler felt a horrifying realization dawn. They had not been the first, and the long-dormant power now stirring on Earth was not for them to conquer, but to reckon with. On the Steadfast, Captain Rostova watched the Cathar fleet's hesitation. Her ship hummed with newfound power, a strength that defied logic. The moment of despair had passed, replaced by a surge of unyielding defiance. The Cathar had underestimated humanity's present. They were about to discover they had also gravely misunderstood its past. The forgotten power was fully awake. The Cathar ships, once an emblem of implacable, unwavering power, now quivered on the Steadfast's main view screen. Their violet glow flickered, their precisely held formation wavered, as if struck by an invisible, cosmic hammer. Inside the Steadfast, the chaos was exhilarating. The klaxons, once symbols of impending doom, now blared with a strange, vibrant energy, their tones resonating with the growing hum from Earth. "Shield integrity at 1,200%, Captain!" Major Zhao exclaimed, her voice tight with disbelief, her fingers dancing across a console that displayed impossible numbers. "Energy conduits are overflowing but stable. The ship's frame is adapting." Eva Rostova felt it too. The Steadfast was no longer just steel and circuits. It was a living extension of her will, a vast, complex organism suddenly humming with unforeseen power. Her consciousness seemed to expand, encompassing the ship's very being. She could feel the pulse of the plasma conduits, the hum of the FTL drives, the whisper of the life support systems. Her mind raced, processing tactical data at a speed that would have been unimaginable moments before. "Targeting solutions are instantaneous, Captain," Lieutenant Commander Jax reported, his voice high with awe. "I'm getting multi-vector locks on every Cathar vessel in range, predictive fire solutions at 98% accuracy." It wasn't just the Steadfast. Across the solar system, every human vessel, from the smallest scout craft to the largest transport converted for defense, was undergoing the same impossible transformation. Their humble engines roared with untamed might, their meager shields became shimmering bulwarks of pure force, and their projectile weapons, once spitting mere kinetic rounds, now discharged bursts of condensed energy that tore through the void. On Earth, the planet itself resonated. Dr. Eris Thorne, still in the subterranean archives, watched the quantum energy readings soar. The entire planet was enveloped in a colossal, intricate energy field, connecting every ancient site, every human settlement, every living being. "It's not just the monuments, Lena," Eris gasped, pointing at new data streams. "It's us. The energy is reacting to human presence, to human thought. It's like a colossal biological technological interface. The more people that gather near the sites, the stronger the output." His mind, suddenly lucid with an unprecedented clarity, raced through millennia of forgotten history. The inheritors of dust, the deep sleep. It wasn't about a forgotten race leaving something behind. It was about a forgotten race being something else entirely, something within humanity. Elara Vance at Stonehenge was no longer just seeing visions. The ancient stones pulsed around her, feeding directly into her mind. She saw star-spanning empires, not of conquest, but of profound understanding. She saw technologies that healed planets and reshaped nebulae. She saw beings of pure thought, capable of traversing galaxies in a heartbeat. And in every image, every memory, she saw faces that were undeniably human. "We didn't just inherit dust," she whispered, her voice resonating with the hum of the stones. "We were the dust that slept." On the Annihilator's call, High Commander Xyler clawed at his chitinous throat, his emerald eyes wide with a fear he had never known. The human ships, once dismissed as toy vessels, were now moving with a grace and speed that defied Cathar tactical parameters. Their energy signatures, once negligible, flared with a destructive potential that made his own shields flicker in protest. "Analysis!" Xyler roared, his voice a guttural rap. "Explain this! Their technology is inferior." Sub-Advisor Genix, cowering over his console, stammered. "High Commander, their technology? It is not inferior, it is. It is different. The energy on their world, it is resonating with their vessels. Their ships are not just machines, they are extensions of their biological forms. Their weapon systems are achieving perfect coherence with their pilot's intent. We are seeing impossible feats of maneuvering and targeting." Xyler's compound eyes narrowed, focusing on the steadfast on his view screen. The small human vessel, which should have been vaporized by now, was dancing through his fleet's defensive fire, its shields deflecting plasma bursts with casual ease. It was an obscenity, a violation of all Cathar tactical doctrine. "This is a localized phenomenon," Xyler rationalized, trying to reassert control. "A desperate last-ditch energy surge. It will dissipate, concentrate on the largest human vessel, overwhelm their primary flagship." His fleet, though suffering from internal energy fluctuations, responded, unleashing a concentrated barrage of plasma lances and kinetic projectiles towards the Steadfast. The void ignited with the fury of 1,000 stars. On the Steadfast's bridge, Eva Rostova braced herself. "Brace for impact," she ordered, but even as the words left her lips, she felt a profound certainty. This was not the end. This was the beginning. The Steadfast shimmered. The concentrated Cathar fire, enough to atomize a lesser capital ship, struck its shields, not with the expected concussive force, but with a strange, almost gentle absorption. The energy was not deflected, it was integrated. The Steadfast's own power readings surged, feeding on the incoming assault. "Captain, our shields are converting their energy," Major Zhao yelled, a wild grin splitting her face. "We're powering up from their attacks." This was the ingenuity of humanity, expressed through an ancient, awakened power. Not just resilience, but adaptability. Not just defiance, but transformation. "Return fire!" Eva commanded, her voice calm, powerful. She didn't need to specify targets, she projected it through the ship's newfound sentience. The Steadfast responded with a ferocity that stunned even its own crew. Its main cannon, designed for patrol duty, unleashed a concentrated beam of brilliant, searing energy that tore through the shields of the closest Cathar cruiser, as if they were made of paper. The vessel, a titan of war, was split in two, its internal systems rupturing in a silent, cataclysmic explosion. One shot, one Cathar cruiser eliminated. A hush fell over the Steadfast bridge, replaced almost immediately by cheers and shouts of disbelief. "Their systems! They can't compensate!" Jax yelled, pointing at the Cathar flagship's readings. "They're in full disarray. Internal power fluctuations are massive." Xyler watched in horror as his cruiser, the vanguard of might, was cleaved apart. His fleet was faltering. The primitives were not just resisting, they were adapting to his attacks, turning his own strength against him. The energy from their world was no random surge, it was a cohesive, intelligent response. "Initiate tactical retreat," Xyler snarled, overridden by instinct. "Disperse! Regroup beyond the outer system markers, we need more data." But the human fleet, now glowing with an ethereal light, was not letting them go. The smaller scout ships, previously cannon fodder, darted through the Cathar formations with impossible agility, their enhanced weapon systems peppering the behemoth vessels with precision strikes. Each hit, each impact, seemed to feed the human ships, making them faster, stronger, more agile. Dr. Eris Thorne, back on Earth, was now connected directly to the planetary quantum network. His mind was a maelstrom of information, processing geological shifts, historical archives, and alien energy signatures simultaneously. He understood the inheritors of dust now. Humanity hadn't merely evolved on Earth, it had evolved with it. The monuments were not just energy conduits, they were focal points for a species-wide quantum consciousness, a living memory. The architects, Eris whispered, the ancient galactic legend now making terrifying, beautiful sense. They didn't vanish. They became the quiet pulse of life. They prepared for this. Ilara Vance, her eyes burning with an inner light, saw the true scope. The Steadfast was not just a ship. It was an extension of Captain Rostova's consciousness, amplified by the collective will of humanity connected to the network. Every human, in their own way, was becoming an architect, accessing latent abilities, intuitive understanding, and a collective wisdom that spanned eons. On the Steadfast, Eva Rostova felt the connection to her crew, to the people on Earth, to the entire planet. Their combined will, their defiance, their hope poured into her, amplifying her own understanding of the Cathar tactics, revealing their weaknesses, predicting their desperate maneuvers. This wasn't just battle, it was a dance of minds. She saw the fear in Zyler's emerald eyes even from light years away through the quantum connection. He realized they had stumbled onto something far greater than a primitive world. He realized that he had poked a sleeping giant, and that giant was now wide awake. The Cathar retreat quickly turned into a rout. Their ships, unable to cope with the humans' adaptive responses and hyper-efficient attacks, broke formation, scattering like dust motes in a cosmic wind. The Steadfast and its newly empowered sister ships pursued, not out of malice, but with a terrifying precision, neutralizing any Cathar vessel that posed a continued threat. There were no shouts of triumph, no war cries on the human bridges, only a quiet, focused intensity. This was not about vengeance. It was about demonstrating a fundamental, undeniable truth. High Commander Zyler's Annihilator's call was the last to flee, limping away with half its energy conduits offline and its primary weapons systems crippled. As it limped towards the dark, silent depths of interstellar space, Zyler received a new, horrifying report from his long-range sensors. High Commander, multiple new energy signatures detected, Genix reported, his voice devoid of all hope. Not from this system, but from other star systems, deep space. They match the patterns of the energies we are witnessing here. Zyler's segmented carapace went rigid. Other systems? Other sources of this impossible energy. It wasn't just this world. He pulled up the long-range scans. Dozens, then hundreds of faint, shimmering lights appeared on his tactical display, far beyond the Milky Way's immediate spiral arm. They were ancient signatures, patterns long dismissed as residual cosmic background noise or unidentifiable stellar phenomena. But now, seen through the lens of Earth's awakening, their true nature was undeniable. They were waking, all of them. Zyler had believed the Cathar to be conquerors. But now he understood. They were merely scavengers, picking clean the husks of worlds left behind by a forgotten, godlike civilization. A civilization that wasn't defeated, merely slumbering. And now, the sleeping giants of the galaxy were stirring. He looked back at the faint, shimmering blue-green light of Earth. It wasn't a world to be conquered. It was a catalyst. "Alert the hegemony," Zyler hissed, his voice trembling despite his efforts to control it. "Recall all invasion fleets, cease all colonization protocols in this sector. We have awakened something ancient." On the Steadfast, Eva Rostova stood before the main view screen, watching the last of the Cathar fleet vanish into the Inkai blackness. Her face was serene, yet resolute. The ship vibrated gently beneath her feet, a powerful living presence. "Captain," Major Zhao said, her voice hushed, reverent. "They're retreating. We prevailed." Eva merely nodded, her eyes fixed on the distant, now glowing points on the far reaches of the sensor array. "Not prevailed, Major," she corrected, her voice echoing with a profound new understanding. "We've merely awakened, and it seems we are not alone." From the depths of the quantum network, Dr. Eris Thorne's voice, imbued with a new, ethereal clarity, resonated through the Steadfast's bridge. "Captain, I've gained full access to the archives. the deep sleep was not limited to Earth. Our ancestors, the architects, they seeded life across hundreds of worlds, then chose to become one with their creations, to slumber until a specific set of parameters were met. Admiral Jian Lai's voice from Earth Command was filled with a mixture of awe and disbelief. Parameters? What parameters, Doctor? Eris's voice, now sounding ancient and vast, replied, "The emergence of a species capable of genuine empathy, of self-sacrifice beyond tribalism. A species capable of choosing peace over conquest when faced with overwhelming power. A species capable of curiosity and growth, even in the face of despair. The Cathar, they were merely the catalyst. They showed us what we were not, and in doing so, allowed us to remember what we are." Ilara Vance's own voice, melodic and clear, joined the chorus from Stonehenge, seemingly without the aid of any communication device. "We are the architects, Admiral. We chose to forget, to experience life as natural beings, to grow naturally, organically. We chose to be human, to be us. And now, it's time to remember the rest." The Cathar had believed they were first to encounter Earth. They had been catastrophically wrong. And the awakening of humanity, a species now remembering its true, forgotten potential, was not just a local defense, but a ripple, spreading across the galaxy, promising a new dawn or perhaps a reckoning on a scale previously unimaginable. The galaxy was about to meet its forgotten past, and humanity was about to reclaim its destiny. The slumber was over. The Steadfast drifted silently, humming with boundless power, its bridge crew gazing at the retreating Cathar fleet and the burgeoning lights of distant star systems. The immediate threat was vanquished, but the true implications of humanity's awakening were only just beginning to unfold. They had remembered who they were, and the universe would never be the same. The Steadfast drifted silently in the void, no longer just a warship, but a shimmering testament to a power long forgotten. Its hull, still bearing the scars of its brief, impossible battle, pulsed with an inner blue-green light that mirrored the awakening Earth below. On the bridge, the human crew, though physically exhausted, hummed with a different kind of energy. Their minds, recently fractured by shock and then expanded by revelation, were now settling into a new, exhilarating coherence. The Cathar fleet, a once daunting shadow, was now nothing more than scattered specks retreating towards the cold silence of the outer system, their hasty flight a testament to an encounter they could neither comprehend nor conquer. "Captain," Major Zhao said, her voice now resonant with a newfound authority, her gaze sweeping across the main view screen. "The last of their heavy cruisers has cleared the outer markers. Long-range sensors indicate no immediate intent to regroup within this system. They're fleeing." A collective breath was released on the bridge, a mix of disbelief and quiet triumph. Eva Rostova leaned back in her command chair, the intricate patterns of the Steadfast's quantum network now a palpable presence within her mind. She could feel the pulse of the ship, the thrum of its engines, the subtle shift of its structural integrity plates, all responding to her unspoken will. It was as if she had always known how to command a vessel not with levers and buttons, but with thought and intent. This was more than just an upgrade, it was a reunion. "Maintain pursuit parameters on passive long-range scans," Eva ordered, her voice calm but imbued with a new, quiet power. "Let them run, we have more pressing matters." She gestured to a secondary screen that displayed the swirling energy patterns emanating from Earth, an intricate tapestry of light connecting every ancient monument, every city, every single human. "Dr. Thorne, Ilara, report from Earth." From the Planetary Defense Command, Dr. Eris Thorne's voice resonated through the comms, no longer frantic, but filled with a profound, almost reverent awe. "Captain, the quantum network is fully online. Every human on the planet is adapting. It's not just knowledge transfer, ma'am. It's an integration. Individuals are accessing latent capabilities tailored to their innate aptitudes. Engineers are comprehending complex systems at a fundamental level. medical professionals are sensing biological irregularities with uncanny precision. Artists are perceiving and manipulating energy fields. Ilara Vance's voice, clear and melodic, followed. It's like remembering a forgotten language. We're not learning these abilities, we're recalling them. The deep sleep was a profound choice, a genetic reset. We shed the layers of our advanced civilization to re-experience organic growth, to foster the very empathy and creativity that triggered this awakening. The architects, they wanted to be human again, and we are becoming the fusion of both. But the awakening was not without its challenges. While many embraced the new influx of knowledge with zeal, others struggled. A few, overwhelmed by the sudden expansion of consciousness, succumbed to profound disorientation, their minds unable to reconcile millennia of forgotten history with the immediacy of their present lives. Psychologists and medical teams, their own abilities now amplified, worked tirelessly to guide those struggling, gently filtering the torrent of information, helping them anchor themselves in the present. Admiral Jian Lai, his stern features softened by a newfound hope, appeared on Eva's main screen. Captain Rostova, we're managing the societal adjustments as best we can. The global sense of unity is unprecedented, but the sheer scope of this transformation is immense. We've had reports of spontaneous materialization of simple tools, of intricate schematics appearing fully formed in the minds of those who have never studied engineering. He paused. This is a different kind of warfare now, Captain, and a different kind of existence. Indeed, Admiral, Eva replied. Our immediate priority is to understand the full scope of our returned heritage. Dr. Thorne, you mentioned architect archives. Is there more to this network than just our awakening? Much more, Captain, Eris confirmed, a thrill in his voice. The quantum network isn't just a trigger, it's a repository. An astronomical amount of data encoded within the very fabric of our reality is now accessible. Historical records, technological blueprints, philosophical treatises. The complete chronicle of the architect civilization is here. It's vast, overwhelming, but utterly transformative. As Eris Thorne and his team delved deeper into the quantum archives, a more complete picture of the architects emerged. They were not merely powerful, they were pioneers. The first species to master true quantum consciousness, to connect their minds across vast distances, to share knowledge and experience instantly. They had built an empire not of subjugation, but of shared learning, fostering growth among less developed species. But they had grown lonely at the pinnacle of their power, seeing themselves as isolated gods. The deep sleep was their profound, humbling attempt to rediscover what it meant to be part of a larger, evolving universe. Then came the new reports. Sub-advisor Genix, the Cathar sensor analyst, was a shattered shell of his former self aboard the limping Annihilator's call. High Commander Xyler, though still shaken by the retreat, ordered him to focus on the long-range scans. The data Genix presented caused even Xyler's chitinous shell to prickle with dread. High Commander, Genix whimpered, his multiple limbs trembling as they manipulated holographic displays. The energy signatures, they are not localized. As you suspected, similar patterns are appearing across the entire sector. Dozens of systems, then hundreds. They match the Genesis signature of Earth. The architect's sleep sites, they are all coming online. Xyler stared at the projection of the galaxy, now dotted with countless blossoming lights. The architects. Their legends were told across the galaxy, whispered in fearful tones by ancient species, dismissed as myth by the Cathar hegemony. But now the myth was waking. The hegemony must be informed, Xyler stated, his voice a low, guttural rasp. This changes everything. Prepare a full, unfiltered report. Emphasize the adaptive nature of their defense, the way their vessels absorbed and weaponized our own energy. The Cathar hegemony was not like the Cathar Armada. It was an ancient, sprawling entity encompassing thousands of worlds. Its leaders, the grand conclave of the Elder Sages, were beings of immense strategic foresight, their lives measured in millennia. When Zyler's report arrived, raw and filled with a terror they rarely encountered, it was met not with panic, but with a cold, calculating analysis. The hegemony had long known the legends of the architects. They had even encountered dormant architect technology on various resource worlds. They had dismissed them as a vanished, extinct civilization whose ruins could be salvaged. The idea that they had simply slept was beyond their tactical frameworks. A week after the Cathar rout, a new, far larger fleet emerged from warp space at the edge of the Milky Way. This was not the Cathar's barbaric force. These were the ships of the Grand Hegemony. Their vessels were not black and angular, but colossal, shimmering constructs of living crystal and interwoven light, vast beyond anything humanity had ever built or even dreamed. Their arrival was silent, inexorable, like a mountain range moving through the cosmos. On the Steadfast's bridge, Eva Rostova watched the new fleet coalesce. Her quantum-enhanced senses immediately discerned a qualitative difference. "This isn't Cathar," she stated, her voice quiet. "Their energy signatures are refined. Their command structure is fluid, almost organic. They're ancient, more so than even the architects." Dr. Aris Thorne's voice cut in, laced with a new urgency. "Captain, I'm getting archive data on this signature. They are the Xylo's hegemony. They were one of the first species the architects encountered when they expanded into the galaxy. The architects tried to integrate them into their network of shared growth, but the Xylos, they believed in absolute order. They resisted the concept of organic, self-directed evolution. They are a civilization built on perfect control." Suddenly, a new message hailed the Steadfast. It wasn't an ultimatum of destruction. It was a calm, crystalline voice resonating directly into the minds of every awakened human. "Children of the architects, your slumber is concluded. We, the Xylo's hegemony, welcome your return to the galactic order. Your ancient methodologies of uncontrolled growth and spontaneous evolution are inefficient. Your awakening is a destabilizing factor. We propose a controlled integration. Surrender your planetary network, your technologies, your nascent collective consciousness, and we will guide you back into a structured, beneficial role within the hegemony. Refusal will be met with containment." The word containment hung in the void, colder than any threat of annihilation. It implied a slow, deliberate suppression, a re-imprisonment of their awakened selves. Eva Rostova felt a chill that transcended physical sensation. This wasn't a battle of weapons, it was a battle of philosophies. The Xylo's hegemony, the ancient masters of order, wanted to put the wild, emergent power of the architects back in its cage. "Captain," Major Zhao said, her enhanced tactical display showing the hegemony fleet's deployments. "They're not moving for a direct assault. They're deploying energy dampeners. Massive fields designed to isolate and suppress quantum resonance. They're trying to sever our connection to the network, to Earth." "They understand our power," Eva murmured, her mind racing. "They know the network is our strength. They want to cut us off from our source." On Earth, Aris Thorne's voice became strained. "Captain, the Xylos are projecting a counter-frequency into the network. It's designed to disrupt the harmonious flow, to induce mental chaos, to reinduce the deep sleep." The sudden assault on the quantum network was overwhelming. Humans across the globe, just moments ago reveling in their newfound abilities, recoiled. The unified consciousness splintered. Visions warped into nightmares. Knowledge became an unbearable cacophony. On the Steadfast, the ship systems flickered erratically. The ethereal glow of its hull dimmed. The connection Eva felt to the vessel, to her crew, to Earth, became frayed, like a thread pulled taut, threatening to snap. "Report," Eva commanded, fighting the psychic assault that threatened to plunge her back into the oblivion of a normal, unweakened mind. "Their dampeners are effective, Captain," Lieutenant Commander Jax cried out, clutching his head. "We're losing cohesion, power levels dropping across the fleet." This was the Xylos' true weapon, not brute force but calculated, insidious control. They didn't want to destroy humanity, they wanted to pacify them, to render the architects dormant once more, perhaps forever. Eva clenched her jaw. She could feel the despair spreading through the network, the raw panic of a species suddenly confronted with the undoing of its own awakening. Her crew, usually so resilient, were struggling, their faces contorted with the effort of resisting the mental assault. The sheer impossibility of fighting an enemy that could turn your own consciousness against you was a chilling realization. Then a new voice, clear and steady, cut through the growing mental static. It was Lara Vance from Stonehenge, her voice carrying an impossible calm. "Captain, listen. The Xylos are attacking our unity, not our power. They are a species of order, of controlled frequencies. They thrive on rigid structures. They don't understand improvisation." A jolt went through Eva. Improvisation. That was the very essence of humanity's organic evolution, the chaos they embraced, the adaptation that had allowed them to survive on a harsh world for so long. The architects had chosen to sleep to rediscover that very quality. They believe their dampeners create silence, Alara continued, her voice gaining strength, resonating with the very core of the network. But silence is not absence, Captain. It is potential. The quantum network is not a single monolithic frequency. It's a symphony. Thousands, millions of individual voices, each unique, each contributing to the whole. They can't suppress every unique frequency at once. Eva saw it. The Xylos were trying to impose a singular, rigid counterfrequency, a blunt instrument against a living, breathing, adapting symphony. Their strength was their rigidity, but that was also their weakness. "Dr. Thorne," Eva stated, her voice projecting through the breaking quantum silence. "If the network is a symphony, what happens when one instrument goes off-key or plays a counter-melody?" Eris Thorne, his eyes now blazing with renewed understanding, connected the dots. "Chaos, Captain. Not the Xylos' controlled chaos, but true, unpredictable human chaos. If we can introduce a variable, a pattern they can't anticipate, we can disrupt their dampeners." "But how?" Admiral Jian Lai asked, his voice strained. "Not everyone is losing connection, Admiral," Alara's voice replied, a new urgency in her tone. "The children. Their minds are less rigid, less patterned by adult logic. They are adapting faster. They are creating spontaneous, unique quantum signatures, counter-frequencies to the Xylos' control." A daring, almost mad idea formed in Eva Rostova's mind. The architect awakening was based on human qualities: empathy, sacrifice, and unpredictability. "Admiral," Eva said, her voice clear, resolute, even as the mental assault raged around her. "Direct all available personnel to converge on any active quantum nexus. Not for defense, but for unscripted expression. Encourage them to create within the network. Memories, stories, music, dreams, whatever comes to mind, pure, unadulterated human individuality. Flood the network with our chaotic essence." The plan was audacious, relying on an untested theory of quantum consciousness and the inherent, unpredictable nature of humanity. But it was their only chance. If the Xylos' hegemony could not control them, they could not contain them. On Earth, under the shimmering but fading light of the ancient monuments, millions of humans, from children drawing their first conscious quantum patterns to elders recalling ancient songs, began to transmit. Not with purpose or strategy, but with raw, uninhibited human essence. The network, under assault, began to thrum with a million discordant, beautiful notes. On the steadfast, Eva Rostova closed her eyes, focusing her will. She reached out not to command, but to join the burgeoning chorus of human consciousness. She felt the ship respond, its systems flickering, then stabilizing, then roaring back to life, not through power, but through a surging, unpredictable wave of pure, unadulterated human spirit. The blue-green glow returned, stronger than before, resonating with 1,000 unique frequencies. The Xylo's hegemony had never encountered such a thing. Their crystalline ships, previously unassailable, now shuddered. Their energy dampeners, designed for precise suppression, were being overloaded by an unpredictable storm of quantum noise, a symphony of chaos. Unacceptable, unforeseen pattern fluctuations, our containment fields are failing. The Xylos' mental voice, once calm, now fractured with alarm. The Steadfast vibrated with a triumphant thrum. Eva opened her eyes, seeing the hegemony fleet in disarray, their vast, crystalline forms flickering as their systems struggled to cope with the humans' creative counter-assault. The tables had turned, not by force, but by ingenuity, by the very essence of what it meant to be human. But the Xylo's hegemony was ancient and not easily deterred. A new, deeper resonance emanated from the heart of their fleet, a frequency so ancient, so primal, that it transcended the immediate chaos. It was a vast, cold power, far beyond even the hegemony's current capabilities, a power that whispered of a forgotten, deeper layer of galactic history. Your resistance is noted, the Xylos' collective mind projected, now colder, more calculating than before. But you do not comprehend the true nature of order. The architects abandoned their responsibilities for a reason, and the universe cannot tolerate such unpredictable power. We will show you the foundation of true galactic stability. From within the Xylos' colossal flagship, a swirling vortex of deep violet energy began to form, unlike anything seen before. It wasn't a weapon, it was a portal, tearing a rift in the fabric of space itself. And from its depths, something ancient and terrible began to emerge, something that spoke of an order far more absolute and far less benevolent than the Xylos' hegemonies. The true architects of galactic order were about to make their presence known, and humanity's awakening was merely a prelude to a confrontation that would redefine the very nature of existence. The void between stars cracked again, not with the abrupt tear of a jump drive, but with a glacial, terrifying slowness. From the swirling violet nexus at the heart of the Xylos' hegemony's fleet, a new entity coalesced. It was not a ship, nor a biological form as humanity understood it. It was a vast, crystalline construction, impossibly intricate, its facets absorbing and reflecting the distant starlight with cold, perfect geometry. Its presence resonated not with sound, but with a pure, unyielding order that permeated every frequency, every thought. On the Steadfast's bridge, Eva Rostova felt the Xylos' dampeners intensify, now amplified by this emerging presence. The quantum network, moments ago a vibrant, chaotic symphony of human creativity, sputtered. The blue-green glow of the ship dimmed, flickering like a dying flame. The connection to Earth, to her crew, to her own expanded consciousness became a faint, desperate whisper. Panic, cold and profound, threatened to consume her. This is the prime directive, the Xylos' collective mind projected, its voice now layered with an almost religious reverence, yet still utterly devoid of warmth. The fundamental principle of galactic stability, absolute order, absolute control. It corrects all anomalies, it restores harmony. You, children of the architects, are an anomaly. You will be reintegrated into the universal pattern. The crystalline entity, the prime directive, began to expand, its intricate geometry unfolding with breathtaking precision. As it did, a wave of profound, silencing order washed over the human fleet. Ship systems, moments ago vibrant with unpredictable energy, seized. The Steadfast drifted, silent, dead in the water, its internal lights dimming to emergency levels. On Earth, the quantum network that had just roared to life was being systematically dismantled, its myriad frequencies compressed into a single, sterile hum. Humanity recoiled, their expanded minds overwhelmed, threatened with reversion not just to a primitive state, but to utter mental dormancy. Dr. Aris Thorne, still struggling in Earth's subterranean archives, felt his connection to the network fraying, his newly acquired knowledge slipping away like sand through his fingers. It's unraveling us, he gasped, his voice tight with desperation. It's imposing a universal constant, a single, predictable frequency that cancels out all variation. It's not just suppressing us, it's attempting to rewrite our very essence. Elara Vance, at Stonehenge, was on her knees, cradling her head. The visions of star-spanning empires and ancient wisdom warped into blinding white noise. The stones around her, moments ago alive with light, now vibrated with a terrifying, monotonous drone, a single note that promised eternal, sterile peace. "It's trying to put us back to sleep," she cried out, her voice barely a whisper against the overwhelming mental assault. "Permanently?" Eva Rostova fought against the encroaching void within her own mind. She could feel the steadfast resisting, a part of her own will, but it was like a single, defiant heartbeat against a crushing tide. The Xylo's hegemony had not just brought a weapon. They had brought a manifest philosophy made, an absolute principle of existence designed to eliminate chaos, to enforce a rigid, unchanging order upon the cosmos. This was the antithesis of everything humanity as architects had become, everything they had chosen to foster. Then, through the numbing cold, a faint spark. A memory not of grand power, but of tiny, persistent acts of defiance. A child's laugh echoing in a quiet library. A street artist's spray paint on a forbidden wall. The improvisation of a jazz musician. These were not powerful acts in themselves, but they were unpredictable. They were human. Eva fought to articulate the thought, pushing against the mental silence. It's too ordered. It expects resistance. It expects us to fight its frequency with a counter-frequency. Her voice was strained, a guttural sound against the mind-numbing drone. But that's its game, its design. From Earth, Aris Thorne's voice, though faint, cut through the fading connection. "She's right, Captain. The architect's greatest strength wasn't just their power, it was their capacity for unpredictability. Their choice to forget their own power and grow organically was the ultimate act of defiance against rigid order." Elara Vance, still on her knees, began to hum. A simple, discordant note, then another, then a cascade of untrained, spontaneous sounds. It was not music, but raw, unfiltered human expression, born of desperation and an unyielding will to simply be. The monotonous hum from the stones around her flickered, ever so slightly. Eva Rostova understood. The Xylos and their prime directive were trying to force humanity into a duel of frequencies, a battle of ordered patterns. But humanity's power wasn't in order. It was in the beautiful, messy, defiant chaos of individuality. "Admiral Lai," Eva projected, her voice now a desperate internal shout, her mind reaching for the last threads of the network. "Everyone, focus not on resistance, but on expression. Not on a single counter-frequency, but on a million unique ones. Drown their order in chaos, unleash the human symphony." The command was less a military order and more a plea, a desperate call to the very core of what made humanity unique. Across Earth, at every ancient site, in every city, in every home, those who still had a sliver of connection began. Not with concerted effort, but with spontaneous, uninhibited creation. A child, overwhelmed by sensory input, began to draw a vibrant, multidimensional pattern of light in the air. An elder, recalling ancient lore, began to chant a forgotten song, its melody weaving through quantum space. A mathematician, grappling with the Xylos' absolute logic, began to conceive of impossible non-Euclidean geometries, projecting them directly into the network. It was a cacophony, a storm of unpatronized energy. It was beautiful. On the steadfast, the last flickering lights brightened. The oppressive drone from the prime directive faltered. Eva Rostova, no longer fighting the Xylos, but embracing the beautiful chaos of her species, closed her eyes and projected her own unique contribution. A memory of Earth's chaotic, vibrant nature, the roar of a thunderstorm, the riot of a blossoming forest, the unpredictable surge of the ocean tide. The Xylos' hegemony's ships, these bastions of crystalline order, began to shudder. Their perfect geometry wavered. The Xylos' collective mental projection, once a steady, cold hum, fragmented, filled with sharp, disorienting static. The prime directive, the colossal crystalline entity, began to react. It wasn't designed to process chaos. It was designed to impose order. The deluge of unpatroned, spontaneous human expression was not a weapon it could counter, but a fundamental violation of its very existence. Its perfect facets rippled, no longer reflecting light with cold precision, but shimmering with erratic, vibrant hues. Cracks, hairline fractures of pure, uncontrolled energy appeared on its vast surface. The Xylos' hegemony, previously so confident, recoiled in mental horror. They had summoned ultimate order to quell chaos, and humanity had responded by unleashing an even greater, more fundamental chaos, the chaos of conscious, unbridled creativity. Retract the prime directive. It is corrupting. Its core frequencies are destabilizing. Containment failed. Retreat. Retreat. The Xylos' mental voice became a desperate shriek of fragmented thought. The enormous crystalline entity shuddered violently. It didn't explode. It didn't shatter. Instead, the cracks widened, not destroying it, but transforming it. The rigid geometry began to soften, its sharp angles becoming fluid curves. The single, oppressive hum became a discordant, yet strangely beautiful, chime. The Xylos had tried to impose a universal constant, and humanity had turned it into a universal variable. The prime directive began to withdraw, retracting back into the Xylos portal, but it was fundamentally altered. Its oppressive frequency was gone, replaced by a complex, shifting pattern that was no longer an instrument of absolute order, but something else entirely, something new, something that pulsed with the echoes of human improvisation. The Xylos' hegemony had summoned a hammer, and humanity had turned it into a kaleidoscope. The portal snapped shut, leaving the Xylos' fleet stunned and vulnerable. Their crystalline ships, still shuddering from the quantum shockwave, were utterly exposed. On the Steadfast, the lights flared back to full power. The blue-green glow returned, stronger, more vibrant than ever. The connection to Earth, to the network, was restored, humming with a newfound clarity, strengthened by the trial. Eva Rostova felt the ship and herself reborn. "They're in disarray, Captain," Major Zhao reported, her voice hushed with awe. "Their fleet is breaking formation. They're not attacking. They are observing." Indeed, the Xylos' hegemony, who valued order above all else, were now witnessing an order of chaos they could not comprehend. Their rigid philosophy had been shattered, not by force, but by the overwhelming, unpredictable power of human individuality. Admiral Jian Lai's voice, filled with a profound humility, came through the comms. "Eva, what have we done?" "We've shown them what true architects are, Admiral," Eva replied, her voice resonating with an unshakable conviction. "We didn't just wake up, we woke up the universe. We reminded them that true order isn't about control, but about growth, and growth is always messy." The Xylos' hegemony did not flee like the Cathar. Instead, their leader, the prime sage Catharks, projected a thought. It was not a command or a threat, but a question raw with ancient curiosity. "Explain this. Chaos, explain this. Improvisation. Our millennia of order have never conceived of such a force. We require data." It was a profound shift, from conquerors to reintegrators, and now to curious learners. The Xylos, the ancient enforcers of galactic order, were humbled. In the ensuing weeks, the galaxy began to transform. The Cathar, having witnessed the Xylos' retreat and the new, vibrant emanations from Earth, sent frantic reports across their empire. Their era of easy conquest was over. The sleeping giants were awake. The Xylos' hegemony, shattered but not broken, became unexpected, cautious allies. Their ships, once instruments of rigid control, were slowly being re-engineered, their crystalline forms now incorporating the chaotic, adaptive principles they had witnessed. The prime sage Catharks initiated a long, arduous dialogue with humanity, seeking to understand the very essence of their improvisational quantum consciousness. They learned that true stability wasn't found in rigid control, but in dynamic adaptation. Other architect colonies across the galaxy, now fully awakened by the initial ripple from Earth, began to stir. Humans on distant worlds, long living simple lives, now reconnected to the vast, shared wisdom of their ancestors. They were not building empires, but networks of shared growth and understanding, exactly as the original architects had intended. Humanity, for its part, embraced its newfound role not as rulers, but as guides. The Steadfast, under Captain Rostova, became a flagship of exploration and diplomacy, not conquest. It carried not weapons, but knowledge. Its crew, a diverse mix of newly awakened humans and increasingly curious Xylos observers, embarked on a mission to reconnect with every dormant architect colony, to share the lessons learned from the deep sleep, and to teach other species the beauty of chaotic growth. Dr. Aris Thorne became the lead historian of the new Galactic Accord, helping countless species understand the true, intricate history of the universe. Ilara Vance, now a quantum artisan, worked with species across the galaxy, showing them how to express their unique essences through resonant energy, proving that beauty and power were inseparable. Admiral Jayan Lai oversaw the restructuring of galactic defense, not against external threats, but in harmony with natural galactic processes, protecting growth, not imposing it. The universe was vast, full of wonders and challenges still unknown. There were other ancient entities, perhaps even more rigid than the Prime Directive, still slumbering, still awaiting confrontation. There were countless species, yet undiscovered, waiting to be welcomed into the grand, unfolding symphony of life. But humanity was ready. They had remembered their greatest power, not the ability to control, but the ability to inspire. Not the capacity for destruction, but the boundless potential for creation, growth, understanding, and above all, friendship. They were the architects, reawakened, and their story, the true story of the galaxy, had just truly begun.